Hi and welcome back to the channel. Today we are jumping into the technical analysis on Vechain, where I'll be sharing my short to medium term price predictions for the VET token. As I get into today's video, if you do find it useful and informative, smash that like button, guys. I really do appreciate that. If you are new to the channel, consider subscribing and staying up to date with all the content that we do here at Cheeky Crypto. If you haven't yet joined us in our free Discord, check it out. Link is in the description down below. Let's make a start with the technical analysis here today on Vechain. So this is VET paired up with USDT. We're on the 1-day Binance chart, and following on from the previous videos, we are looking for a bit of a bounce to the upside, which we've kind of started to see here at the moment. We can see that Vechain has progressed up most recently by 13.61%. Now, I still see this one potentially going a little bit further, but it's quite hard to say. We are reaching an upper area of resistance at the moment. I was hoping that we'd see progression more towards the 50 EMA, that's the blue line that's coming through the chart just here, or the 50 SMA, the yellow line coming through the chart. These are at 3.129 on the EMA and 3.195 on the SMA. Still possible that we do rally on up there, but I'm looking at the rest of the crypto market, looking at some of the statuses on the stochastic RSIs, and if we take a look into the stochastic RSI here for Vechain, for example, we can see that we're already up in the overbought area on the daily time frame. Now, of course, this is no indication of price. It's just an idea of momentum, meaning that we're running out of momentum on the daily time frame. There are some positives though. The 4-hour and 1-hour time frames are still showing us with some more positivity and a little bit further to the upside to be had before we start seeing a shift to the downside. But I wanted to kind of say that it's unlikely that we're going to reach a full swing up towards 3.1 at this point in time. I'd like to be wrong on that, but from a probability point of view, it's getting harder and harder to see. Of course, once this relief rally that we're in at the moment does come to an end, we are looking for more slippage to the downside, where we will be targeting out a little bit deeper in the price chart, in my opinion. Now, if I do take the initial kind of structure here, this is the move from February 28th down to the low on March 20th. This is the Z wave movement. It will mirror that of the first wave that we saw. So depending on how high we're able to push here, if we can kind of push up maybe towards 2.7, 2.8, then we could potentially be looking somewhere between 2.292 and all the way down here at 1.7 cents. Now, obviously, this is right inside the range that we've been talking about for a while, right inside this little range here between 1.560 and 2.698. Okay, so this area that we've been talking about is the bigger wave 2 retracement. We're tracking a W, X, Y, X, and Z pattern into this low, and it's possible, of course, that we're still in the Y wave and we haven't had the X wave, but looking at it, we've already met those expectations of the Y wave, so I'm thinking we've either got a really short X wave here or we have a little bit more push to the upside, but either way, we're kind of looking for another move to the downside. I'm not expecting us to go down as deep as 1.560, but again, you never know because this is a pretty deep retracement as it stands at the moment. Vechain since February 28th has already fallen down by 56.71%. Now, it's actually holding up better than many of the other altcoins in the space. Many altcoins are already 60 plus 70% down already. So it's interesting to see that Vechain is actually holding up against some of its peers. But for the most part, this is the accumulative area because this is where I see the next big run for Vechain in the future. So although this can be quite a scary retracement for Vechain, it isn't actually all that bad in my opinion. We will be looking for another retracement. We'll be looking for great dollar cost averaging opportunities as we kind of are inside the range of 1.560 to 2.698. Anywhere in this range seems to be a great place for DCAing and a great place for building value. But again, like I've said many times before, and I'll say it again right now, I am no financial advisor. I cannot offer you financial advice. All I can do is share my thoughts and opinions of the data in the charts as I personally see it. I do think that we're likely to hold our low of 1.318, meaning that if we wanted to, we could go super long-term, long positions with leverage, making sure that our stop loss is lower than 1.398 and basically target out some of those really great numbers are much, much higher in price. This will be a great way to kind of really capitalize in on the bigger swings in the market, which I do think are overdue. I do think that we're going to see a fantastic run for Vechain, as I have covered many times before, but we'll talk about that in a moment. First things first, I want to also kind of just take a look at the smart money concepts here. Nothing much has changed majorly since the last update. We still are in a negative change of characterization, basically indicating that Vechain's bearish at the moment. Again, this is also something that we can see because we have had the 50 EMA, 50 SMA go down lower than the 200 EMA, and of course the price action is lower than all of those moving averages. So from a traditional way of looking at the market, we're bearish anyway because our trend filter, the 200 EMA, is above the price. Our change of characterization is basically confirmation of the bearish movements, and we do have indicated here a weak low, indicating that the existing low is not likely to hold. Our current resistance areas are not only the 50 EMA, the 50 SMA, the 200 EMA, but also equilibrium, which sits above all of those. As you can kind of see on the price chart, there's all of this red up here as well. All of this red is a signaling areas of sell pressure. Okay, so a lot of sell pressure here for Vechain as well. So for the most part, although it does look positive at times, this is very bearish times for Vechain. So although we've had a bit of a 13% bump to the upside, it isn't unfortunately the best position for Vechain to be in. I do expect more volatility though. As I said, we're oversold on the stochastic RSI on the hourly charts, and the 4 hourly still has some progression to the upside as well. If we turn the stochastics off and bring on the relative strength index, you can see there's been some progression to the upside, but again, we're still setting ourselves up with lower highs on the RSI and lower lows on the RSI. So we're still finding ourselves below the 50 points on the RSI. No divergences though between price and RSI, so that's okay. Volume profiles are of course decreasing. We've had a couple of pockets most recently though where that volume has been increasing as we've dumped down. But for a macro point of view, we can of course see that actually volumes on a larger scale during this entire correction are of course coming to the downside, as in volumes are decreasing as this correction is occurring, and this is an indication that there not an appetite. Okay, there isn't an appetite for selling into this move. So there's a little bit of panic selling. You can see that here, obviously price negatively impacted by the market correcting down. Basically, there's an imbalance between the demand and the supply, but it doesn't look like there's a huge amount of volume being pushed through the market, basically indicating to us that there isn't a lot of demand and there's also not a lot of selling. So although prices come down because there's an imbalance between the supply and demand, as in there's more supply than there is the demand, but ultimately there isn't a lot of volume being pushed through on the market, indicating that there isn't much of an appetite on either side of the argument, and this is still a short-term correction. Volume, in my opinion, will pick up in due course, and when it does, we'll see that next fantastic run to the upside. Let's roll this up into the weekly, where we can talk about that, right? So as we were talking about in the previous video, we are tracking a bigger 5-wave movement to the upside. If we do go down as low as 1.5 cent, then our 1.618 trigger point for an impulsive breakout is at 15.8 cent, and that is going to be really quite easy for Vechain to hit, in my opinion. This will then set us up for moving out towards the 0.618 and 0.786 on a grander scale. This is basically between 32.4 and 77.5 cent. And this is where I think we're likely to see kind of the upper areas of resistance. I think we're going to find it a bit of a struggle to push past the previous all-time high at 29 cent, and that's going to be right in line with that 0.618. So we're naturally going to find some resistance here, in my opinion. That could be the wave 3. We'll retrace down before we break out into that final 5th wave movement, where I think we have an upper limit of around 77 cents. Now, it's possible, of course, that we overextend and we head out to those higher targets, but for the most part, I think 77 cents is actually a really reasonable valuation on Vechain based on everything I see going on from a fundamental standpoint, but also from a technical analysis standpoint as well. So for Vechain, everything's actually kind of ticking along as expected. If you have found today's video useful and informative, smash that like button. If you're new to the channel, subscribe. And if you haven't done so yet, give this video a click and stay up to date with the other projects in the crypto space.